Hi there, friends. Today I wanted to talk to you about this really exciting new group that we are launching at the Functional Medicine Center. It's been a lot of planning and a lot of dreaming to finally come up with what I think is going to be a really wonderful resource for you, the patients. So we're calling this a peer support group with our dear friend and colleague, Kelly Price. She was an addiction counselor and she's now a personal trainer and a mom. And she has a wonderful positive mindset and has been able to what I call Marie Kondo her wellness routine. This goal with this group is basically to provide a safe space for all of you to connect with one another and actually share your struggles, because I know that a lot of people, especially during 2020, are dealing with the same obstacles, but I can't really legally connect to you unless you show up for this group. Also, to recognize that we are all human. This is a long journey and we belong to this community. So yes, I'm the provider here, but I also feel very supported by all of you. And I think that we can hold each other up and hold space just for us to acknowledge what we're struggling with. And I think that's probably the most important goal, is just to take some time to notice, practice checking in how we're feeling and what we're thinking. Kelly has some wonderful ideas of how we can do this and how to actually take what I say in the visit, the treatment plan that I give you, and actually make it happen. So Kelly has the experience of being my patient and coming back to me and saying, like, what else do you have to give me? I've accomplished all those things, which I think is an amazing thing. But the flip side of that is that she's also human and she's a mom and she's busy and she's overwhelmed and there's a lot going on. So she's not going to stand on a pedestal. She's going to instead just facilitate a conversation where everybody can have their needs met, everybody can ask their questions, and get really practical tools that we all need to actually implement big wellness changes. I also wanted to give you a little bit of a teaser about what we're going to talk about. I will be there for the first meeting. It's going to be on Zoom and it's going to be once a month, about an hour, but we will finish early if we're done early, and we'll stay a little longer if we need to. We've decided that we probably will record these meetings in case you miss it and you just want to see what we are up to. But I would implore you to actually do the best you can to rearrange your schedule to get there it live, because the live meeting is going to be so much more helpful. So, sometimes we're lucky and we've had examples of how to live a different life, a little different than our typical standard American diet, high stress life. And we've had examples of how to live a more balanced life. But if you haven't had that example in your life, we're going to ask you to try to think about what this would look like. Do you know anyone who actually lives a more healthy lifestyle? And if not, could you describe what that is? How do we absorb new information? So this is going to be a big topic, because a lot of times I think we end visits, whether they're in person or telehealth, and I find that what I was trying to get across was not exactly clear. Sometimes that's because I wasn't trained in how to coach. Sometimes that's also because there's so much going on when we review labs or when I look at your symptoms, and I'm trying to break it down into just a couple things, but I often do, I think, actually give you too much to work on. So how do you absorb information? Are you more of a visual person? Like, personally, I need to see visuals and I need words and reminders and sticky notes to remind me. So I want to give you an example of this. When I was 21, I started my wellness journey around age 14 when I was diagnosed with PCOS. And then when I was 18 and the surgeons told me that they needed to remove both of my ovaries to prevent the pain I was having. And so at age 18, they were asking me to decide if I ever wanted children ever in the future or not. And I told them I wasn't okay with the surgery, and I went against medical advice, which was kind of a brazen teenage thing to do. But what I could not articulate then that I know now is that I did have this feeling somewhere in the back of my mind that I had the ability to heal, that there was something linking my high stress childhood, my lifestyle, my really carb heavy diet. Something was causing the cysts in my ovaries. And so I was really determined then to try to figure out, was I right or was I wrong? Because if I was wrong, I was going to have to go get the surgery. So that just kind of snowballed. And I feel really lucky that I actually started this journey at such a young age, because I think I didn't really get into bad habits as an adult simply because I was so motivated. So, I feel kind of lucky. I feel my heart goes out to people that sort of just approach this in their 30s and 40s and 50s and even 60s, because there's a lot to learn. But I bring up this example just because when I was 21, I decided that I was a very visual person. And so I started to put sticky notes on things and remind myself, like on the case of beer, I would put more green tea, Kate, less beer, just because I decided that for me, I felt better with green tea. I wasn't doing it because somebody else told me to do it. I was doing it because I had kind of sat down and had a session with myself, a journaling session, but it doesn't have to be journaling. It could just be thought. And I realized that I felt better when I drank less beer. Okay, very simple, thing to notice, but now how did I change it, right? And then the other thing, I put a sticky note on the fridge that said less mayonnaise and more greens. And I grew up in a family of pretty Northeast cooking, but then I from age 17 to 21 lived in Virginia. And so there was a lot of Southern cooking and a lot of cheese and mayonnaise and butter. And I realized I felt a lot better with B vitamins that were in the greens. I couldn't articulate that it was the B vitamins, but looking back on it now, I know. So, 16 years later in my journey, I still trip up. Like I ate a ton of Halloween candy this year, but what I was able to do is actually sit there and think, why am I craving the sugar? What's going on in my life that's pretty stressful that my cortisol is high, that I'm craving sugar, right? So I'm giving you these examples not because your journey is supposed to look anything like mine, but just because I want to remind you I'm human. I'm really concerned with how do I actually get you some tools to help you, as opposed to just telling you what to do and then seeing you in a few months and realizing that a lot of that was unattainable, right? I really care. So the other things that we were going to focus on with our group in the next coming months, probably the first 6 months, are focusing on what nourishes your body, getting back to intuitive and mindful eating, practicing balance in all areas of your life. Don't should yourself to death, so trying to take that word should out. Parenting and food. This could be, a whole series of meetings if people are interested. Noticing more subtle signs of disordered eating. Choosing the beneficial foods, but if you have a bad craving, and trying to actually eliminate that word bad, but if you have a craving for ice cream, ask yourself why. Why am I stressed? And then there's all different types of hunger, not just food hunger, but there's thirst, there's emotional hunger, spiritual hunger, social hunger. So talking about how do you actually get your needs met and then realize that actually what you're craving in that moment may actually not be food. And then in other words, I think the whole focus of a lot of this is, why did you decide to join a functional medicine practice? Why are you here in this space sharing? And what's important to you? Why do you care? If you want to nourish your body, why does that matter to you, right? Because I think if we figure out a lot of our own values, which might be very simple, then doing a lot of this becomes a little bit easier. And that's the whole goal here. How can we make this easier for you? This group is a wonderful opportunity, and I hope you see it that way. It is right now completely optional, but also completely free for all of our patients. So I implore you to please consider showing up in person. If you absolutely can't be there, know that the recording will be there. And if it feels right to you, jump in with us. If you have anxieties or insecurities or questions or concerns or comments, let me know. If there's certain topics that you want us to cover, like if I told you to work on sleep hygiene and turn off the screen and you're just struggling with that and you'd like us to cover that, great. In the beginning, I'm going to be there with Kelly, and then I'll let her take it by herself, but I'm always here to answer those questions. I hope that you guys are excited for this. The first meeting will probably be in December, just to give you some tools to get through the holidays. So look for that email coming soon, an announcement, and yeah, let me know if you have questions, and I'll talk to you soon.